So using Qt or Qt, however it's pronounced, in C++ to make a GUI with Nix as the build tool was a little more complicated than I thought, but I want to share the lessons I learned, and a bonus of me doing this, I feel more comfortable with Nix now. I feel like I can move around a little bit with Nix and do things. Hopefully you'll feel the same way after this. I'll go through the steps and we'll see. In case you're new here, I'm Steve, and this is PageKey, where we take back tech. Computers aren't going anywhere. The world keeps getting more technologically advanced, all this stuff. Companies are taking advantage of that fact, but we as individuals have to do the same. So that's what we're all about. We're taking back tech. The challenge with this Qt GUI is that unlike some of the other things that you can do easily and quickly for a beginner with Nix, for example, making a Python package, making a Docker container, I couldn't find anything that was just cut and paste for Qt. Maybe it's a little niche because it's a specific C++ library, but I was having some issues. Anything that I generated from ChatGPT didn't really work and was kind of complicated, or at least it seemed like it to me. And anything that I copied from a forum somewhere also didn't really seem to work for me. So I was able to start very simple from a C file that compiles and then step my way to a working Qt GUI. So I'm going to show you those steps that I took in short and get you on the same path. Code for this video is on PageKey's GitHub in the education repo in 164 Nix Qt. It's all right here. I'll leave a link in the description. So like I said, I think the best way is to just start with a very simple C++ program. So I'm going to go ahead and create main.cpp here, and we're going to make this real simple. So output classic hello world, and that's it. Now it's great to have code, but how do we compile this? Well, I could just do G++, right? But command not found, I am on Nix OS, and honestly, I don't want to have to figure out how to install the build system. I just want to do it through a flake.nix file. So what's the simplest flake.nix that I can have? For the sake of time, I'm just going to throw this whole thing in here. It has a description. It has Nixos unstable for the packages that it's pinned at, and it has an x86 64 Linux default package. Inside of that, we are importing Nix packages with a specific architecture, and then we're going to do make derivation. We'll give it a name, we'll say where the source is, and for our inputs we will specify GCC. For build phase, we'll create out/bin, and we will G++ into out/bin/hello source/main.cpp. So let's see what happens if I run nix build now. So automatically I got a flake.lock file, which is nice, and then I got this result directory bin, and here's my hello executable. So I can ./result/bin/hello. There it is, it's done. And I can also do nix run, and we'll do the same thing. So my next step here would be to add to my build dependencies Qt. So I'm going to throw this in here. I added CMake, and I added Qt6 base. And I believe Qt6 base has GCC somewhere in its dependency tree, so we don't need that explicitly. And then I had to add this don't wrap Qt apps in here so that it doesn't, I don't know, do some kind of magic that I'm not sure what it's doing. I just want this to be declarative as much as possible. And right now, if I run nix build again, I get a CMake error, so we really have to mess around with these scripts. We'll do that in 1 second, but here's what I figured out is a lot easier, is that the way to figure out what those scripts are, you can check the logs and see what phases are going on, and you can add a dev shell. So I didn't change the build phase, I just added this dev shell. It's very similar to the build phase, but it's going to give us a shell with CMake, Qt base, also GCC. Maybe I don't need that, I can probably delete it. But anyway, Qt declarative, whatever that is, Qt creator. So all of this tutorials that I saw online required Qt creator to generate the package for you. So if we want to use all these tools, we can run nix develop, and now if I do which Qt creator, I have that command available. If I do which GCC, of course I have that. I have CMake, I have all of these things, so I can play around with them however I want. So having done that, I will run Qt creator, and I'm going to hit create project, and I'll just use all the default options, and I'll put it in /demo where we're located right now, /source. Okay, we'll put that in there. I'll just call it my project. And CMake is good. Main window. Honestly, I don't know too much about Qt. I'm just going to keep the defaults. I'm going to keep the defaults here too. Whatever. I'm going to keep all the defaults. Yeah, I'm going to hit finish. So it's going to add these few files. It's going to add main CPP. It'll be interesting to see if it overwrites my main CPP. And here we are. Here we are. I think it might have overwritten my main CPP. That's okay. No problem, Qt. You can do what you got to do. Anyway, we have this whole IDE here that we can use that we launched ourselves, or we can just close this guy out now that the project is generated and go back into our own VS Code session. Qt creator ran. Now, how do we compile this thing? Well, what I did was make dir build. I cd into build, and then I CMake / source. Oops, I have to pop out my project. I didn't realize it had its own folder. So we'll pop that to the source level, and yeah, I'll replace my main CPP, no big deal. Now, if I do CMake ... it does that, and then I can run make. And it takes a moment, but then I can run my project and I get a window. So that's great. This is a Qt window. So are we done? Kinda. We're most of the way there. Now we just have to figure out how to fix our Nix build process so that instead of going into a development shell and messing around with all these things, we can just run Nix build and not worry about it. And it'll be all registered in the Nix tree properly. However that works. Nix store, sorry. So where are we at here? Well, if we run Nix build, let's see what error we get. So it says for full logs here, we're having a CMake lists error. So for full logs, we run Nix log, blah, 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 blah. So what I figured out this week, which I thought was cool, it tells you which phase it's running. So you can see this phase worked, this phase worked, this phase worked with all these different names. And the phase that's failing here is configure phase. So there are all these CMake flags that get kind of baked in by CMake, and it's using ... for some reason. So what I actually want to do for the configure phase is exactly what we just did in our development shell. So I'm going to go ahead and override it. I'm going to paste this in, and configure phase, we're going to make dir build, we're going to cd build, and we're going to CMake ... source. Exactly what we just did. It makes a lot of sense. And then we are basically good to go. So now let's see how far we get with this new file. I'll save flake.nix. I'll run Nix build. We get another error. Oh, I'm going to make dir -p build so that if it exists, it doesn't really care. I guess I should probably remove build before I do this. Now we got a little further. We made it to the build phase, and I have this old build phase going on here. Instead of running G++ ourselves, we just used CMake to generate all kinds of fun stuff to do it for us. So since we're already in the build directory, we already ran CMake, we can just run make in the build phase. And then we can run this again, and then I have one more phase to add, one more custom phase. But let's see if this passes or not. Okay, it did not pass. It was trying to install, and it needs administrative privileges. Once again, I think we can just take a good look at the logs just to see what was going on, and we see that we are in the install phase. Once again, some kind of magic upstream. I don't understand it. Somebody's doing something. We want to override that and do it our way. So if we make dir out/bin, we will move Nix Qt to out bin hello. Actually, I'm sorry, this is for the other project. I believe it's going to be called my project to match the Nix project, or the Qt project we created. So we make that, and now let's see if we make it all the way through the Nix build. Okay, that worked. And if I run Nix run, and then we get our window. So that's awesome. And then, is that the right way to do it? I don't know. Let me know. If someone knows Nix and they just watched this whole video, first of all, thank you for sitting through all that. Second of all, let me know what I'm doing wrong, because honestly, this might not be the best practice. I just know that I was messing around with it this week and it worked, and I wanted to share it. So one last thing, just the obligatory, let's actually do something with this GUI instead of using what was given to us from the generator. Let's add a Q push button to this. So we'll import Q push button, we'll make one, and we'll say show, and we'll see what happens. So if I do Nix run, I wonder if I can just do Nix run without building. Okay, I messed up somehow. I guess I should move this down maybe below the window showing. Let's try again. There we go. So we get the main window. We get the hello world button here that I can click. Now, if I wanted to put that into the main window, I would probably have to edit the UI file. I don't want to get into all that. I just wanted to show that we can make a change, compile the code again, and we're good to go. So that is how to compile Qt applications with Nix. I'm pretty excited about this. I can't wait to do more. I would love to figure out how to do OpenGL with Qt with this same setup with flake.nix, all this stuff. Nix is super cool, and it's apparently very easy to make projects that are deterministic. Mine is probably not. I think I'm a little too, I'm not schooled enough in Nix to really know what I'm doing to that extent, but it's cool that it really lays the base for everything and tells you exactly what you need as inputs, puts everything in an isolated shell. I love it. I love it. I think it's so cool. So I'm a noob to this. I don't know much about it, but I wanted to share it and share my little discovery for this week, which is how to compile Qt apps in Nix. So I hope this was cool for you. Let me know what you think. If you know more about this, please tell me about it. I want to know. And thanks. All right, see you for the next one.